3 hours after the confrontation, the station had returned to normal operations. The Ripper now rested in a new holding area that Tejo had designed, more like a comfortable habitat than a prison cell. The creature had cooperated fully during the transfer, following Tejo through the corridors like a massive deadly pet. Dr. Rithmar, a Threnody behavioral psychologist who had arrived on the emergency transport, could not stop studying the security footage. She had watched the encounter 17 times, analyzing every movement and gesture. According to our models, she told the assembled staff in the main conference room, what Dr. Kim accomplished should be impossible. The human stress response patterns are all wrong. Captain Nalseth nodded grimly. When my species encounters a predator of that size, our instincts demand immediate flight. Our heart rate increases, our vision narrows, and our higher brain functions shut down. It is automatic. Same with the Threnody, Dr. Vextari added. Fear paralyzes rational thought. That is how we survived long enough to develop technology. Park Ji-woo studied the data on his tablet, but Dr. Kim's biometric readings during the encounter show the opposite pattern. His heart rate actually decreased when the creature charged. His breathing became more controlled, not less. It makes no sense, Dr. Rithmar said. Fear is the most basic survival instinct. Without it, a species should have gone extinct long ago. Tejo entered the conference room, followed by Somin and Oh Hyun-sik. The maintenance worker still looked shaken, but Somin appeared calm and curious about the ongoing discussion. Dr. Kim, Dr. Rithmar said immediately, I need to understand your psychological state during the encounter. What were you feeling when the creature attacked? Tejo considered the question. Focused, I suppose. I was analyzing its movement patterns and looking for weaknesses. But were you not afraid? Of course I was afraid. Fear keeps you alert and prevents you from making stupid mistakes. But fear should not control your actions. The alien researchers exchanged glances. This answer made even less sense than the footage. Dr. Kim, Captain Nalseth said slowly, for most species, fear and analysis cannot occur simultaneously. When the fear response activates, logical thought becomes impossible. That sounds like a design flaw, Somin commented. It is not a flaw, Dr. Vextari protested. It is how intelligent species survive. You run from predators and use your brain to build better hiding places. But what if you are the predator? Tejo asked. The room fell silent. Finally, Dr. Rithmar spoke. What do you mean? On Earth, humans are apex predators. We evolved to hunt other dangerous animals. Running away was rarely an option, so our brains learned to stay calm and analytical even in dangerous situations. Impossible, Captain Nalseth said. Intelligent species develop from prey animals. Predators do not need intelligence. Earth predators do, Somin said. Our prey was smart, fast, and well-armed. Humans had to be smarter, faster, and better armed to survive. Oh Hyun-sik, who had been quiet until now, suddenly spoke up. That explains why humans are so good at persistence hunting. We can track animals for days without losing focus. The alien researchers stared at him. Persistence hunting? Dr. Rithmar asked. Running down prey over long distances, Tejo explained. Humans are not the fastest or strongest predators, but we are the most persistent. We can chase an animal until it collapses from exhaustion. You hunt by following things until they die of tiredness. Dr. Vexitari's translator struggled with the concept. It takes patience and endurance, but it works against much larger and stronger prey. Captain Nalseth was staring at Tejo with a new expression. Dr. Kim, when you looked at the Vorthak Ripper, what did you see? A large herbivore trying to defend itself in an unfamiliar environment. Herbivore? Several aliens said at once. The creature's teeth are designed for cutting plant matter, not tearing flesh. Its claws are for digging and climbing, not hunting. And its behavior patterns match those of a territorial grazer, not a predator. Dr. Rithmar checked her datapad frantically, but the reports say it killed dozens of armed soldiers. Because they approached it like prey animals, Tejo said. They ran, so it chased them. They showed fear, so it felt threatened. If they had approached it calmly and given it space, there probably would not have been any violence. The conference room erupted in excited chatter as the aliens discussed this revelation in their native languages. Their translators gave up trying to keep pace with the rapid conversation. Finally, Dr. Vextari restored order. Dr. Kim, are you saying that the most dangerous creature in known space is actually harmless? Not harmless, but not malicious either. Just scared and defensive. Park Ji-woo was reviewing the incident reports from HFY. This changes everything. If the creatures are not naturally aggressive, we could establish research stations on the planet's surface. With proper protocols, Taeho agreed. Approach them like you would approach any large herbivore. Move slowly, avoid sudden gestures, and respect their territory. Captain Nalseth shook his large head. This is difficult for my people to understand. Our instincts tell us that large creatures are dangerous. Size is not the same as aggression, So-min said. Earth elephants are much larger than earth tigers, but elephants are peaceful and less threatened. You have peaceful creatures that large? Dr. Rithmar asked in amazement. Some of our largest animals are herbivores. Humans learned to live alongside them by understanding their behavior. The meeting continued for another 2 hours as the alien researchers tried to process this new information. Everything they thought they knew about dangerous creatures had been turned upside down by a single human who treated the galaxy's most feared predator like a confused farm animal. Later, Taeho visited the Ripper in its new habitat. The creature was resting comfortably on a bed of soft material that So-min had arranged. When it saw Taeho, it made a pleased rumbling sound and moved closer to the transparent barrier. How are you feeling? Taeho asked, knowing the creature could not understand his words but hoping it would understand his tone. The Ripper pressed one massive hand against the barrier. Taeho matched the gesture from his side, and for a moment, human and alien connected across the species divide. Tomorrow we start working on getting you home, Taeho promised. Behind him, Dr. Vexitari watched through the observation window. Dr. Kim, may I ask you a question? Of course. When you first saw the creature, were you not impressed by its power? Did you not feel small and helpless? Taeho thought about it. I felt curious. Here was an animal I had never seen before, with interesting adaptations for its environment. Why would I feel small? Because it could kill you easily. So could a horse or a bull or a dozen other animals I grew up around. The ability to cause harm does not make something evil or impossible to understand. Dr. Vextari was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, Dr. Kim, I think we need to revise many of our assumptions about both humans and dangerous creatures. That sounds like good science to me. As Taeho left the observation area, he passed Oh Hyun-sik in the corridor. The maintenance worker stopped him with a question. Dr. Kim, do you really think humans are that different from other species? Taeho considered this carefully. I think every species is shaped by its evolutionary history. Other species developed intelligence to escape from predators. Humans developed intelligence to become better predators. That does not make us better or worse, just different. And that is why you could defeat the Ripper? I did not defeat it. I communicated with it. Once it realized I was not a threat, it stopped being aggressive. Oh Hyun-sik nodded slowly. So the secret is not being stronger or smarter. The secret is understanding that even the most dangerous creature is just an animal trying to survive in its environment. Remove the fear and confusion, and you can usually find a way to coexist. As word of the encounter spread throughout the galactic community, human diplomatic status began to change. Species that had treated humans as fragile clients requiring protection started viewing them as potential allies worth respecting. The galaxy was learning that the quiet, curious humans who seemed so harmless might actually be the most dangerous predators of all. Dangerous not because of their aggression, but because of their complete lack of fear when faced with the unknown. And perhaps that was the most terrifying thing any prey species could imagine. A predator that remained calm and analytical no matter what it encountered, always looking for weaknesses, always adapting, always learning. The age of humanity in galactic politics had begun, and it started with one man who looked at the galaxy's most feared creature and saw only an animal that needed help getting home. The Ripper spun around to face Taeho, its intelligent eyes now showing something the watching aliens had never seen before: confusion. The creature had charged with enough force to crush a starship hull, but somehow the small human had simply stepped aside. Taeho kept his breathing steady, and his eyes focused on the creature's center of mass. His grandfather had taught him this technique for dealing with aggressive farm animals. Watch the body, not the limbs. The body telegraphs every movement before it happens. The Ripper tried again, this time approaching more carefully. It raised 4 of its 6 arms, claws extended, and struck in a coordinated pattern designed to cover every possible escape route. Taeho ducked under the first swipe, turned his shoulder to let the second pass by, and stepped into the gap between the third and fourth attacks. For a moment he was inside the creature's reach, close enough to touch its armored chest. Instead of trying to hurt the creature, Taeho simply pushed against its shoulder with both hands, using its own momentum to spin it around. The Ripper stumbled again, crashing into a bank of computers. "What is he doing?" So-Min whispered from her position near the wall. In the control room, the alien observers were asking the same question. Captain Nalseth leaned closer to the screen, his yellow eyes wide with disbelief. "He is not fighting it," the Keruvian said.
"He is
redirecting it. Like water flowing around a rock," Dr. Vexitari added, her translator struggling with the concept. Park Jiwoo had seen human martial arts demonstrations before, but never anything like this. "He is using the creature's size against it." The Ripper was getting frustrated. It roared again and charged with even more fury, bringing all 6 arms down in a crushing blow that would have flattened a transport vehicle. Taeho rolled to the side at the last second. The creature's claws smashed into the floor where he had been standing, leaving deep gouges in the metal. The impact was so powerful that it sent vibrations through the entire deck. But now the creature was off balance again, with all 6 arms committed to an attack that had hit nothing but floor. Taeho saw his opportunity. He moved behind the Ripper and grabbed one of its lower arms at the joint. The creature's anatomy was similar to Earth arthropods. The joints were the weak points in an otherwise armored body. Taeho applied pressure to the joint, not trying to break it, but manipulating it in a way that caused the creature to lose leverage. The Ripper tried to pull away, but this only made the joint lock more effectively. "Joint manipulation," Park Jiwoo breathed in amazement. "He's using joint manipulation on a Vorthak Ripper." The creature twisted and thrashed, trying to break free, but Taeho moved with it, maintaining pressure on the joint while staying out of reach of its other arms. It was like watching someone control a massive bull by holding onto its nose ring. "This is impossible," Captain Nalseth said. "No one can physically control a Ripper. It is too strong." "He is not overpowering it," Dr. Vextari observed. "He is using leverage. Physics, not strength." The Ripper tried a different strategy. It rolled onto its back, attempting to crush Taeho beneath its weight. But again, the human seemed to anticipate the move. He released the joint and rolled away just before the creature's massive body hit the floor. The impact shook the entire room. Equipment fell from tables and the lights flickered. When the dust settled, the Ripper was lying on its back like an overturned beetle, struggling to right itself with its 6 arms. Taeho stood nearby, breathing hard but otherwise unharmed. For the first time since the confrontation began, he spoke. "Easy," he said in the same tone he might use with a frightened horse. "Nobody wants to hurt you." The creature stopped thrashing and looked at him. Its eyes held an expression that was almost human, surprise and a grudging respect. Slowly, the Ripper rolled back onto its feet. It stood at its full 12-foot height, staring down at the much smaller human. Its claws extended and retracted several times, as if it was thinking. Then it did something that made every alien observer question everything they thought they knew about Vorthak Rippers. It took a step back. The creature was acknowledging Taeho as a threat. Not a prey animal to be hunted, but an equal predator to be respected. "It is showing submission behaviors," Dr. Vextari whispered. "A Vorthak Ripper is showing submission to a human." "Impossible," Captain Nalseth repeated, but his voice was less certain now. Taeho took a careful step forward. The Ripper watched him but did not attack. He took another step, then another, until he was within arm's reach of the massive creature. "You are lost, are you not?" Taeho said softly. "This is not your home. You want to go back to your planet." The creature tilted its head, listening to his voice. It made a low rumbling sound, but not the aggressive roar from before. This sound was almost mournful. Taeho reached out slowly and touched the creature's armored chest. The Ripper tensed but did not pull away. His hand looked tiny against the creature's massive torso. "We can help you," Taeho said, "but you have to stop destroying the station." For a long moment, human and alien predators stared at each other. Then the Ripper made a decision. It lowered its massive head in what could only be interpreted as a nod. The watching aliens could not believe what they were seeing. The most dangerous creature in known space had just agreed to cooperate with a human who had defeated it using nothing but bare hands and an understanding of physics. So-Min, Taiho said without taking his eyes off the creature. Can you contact the control room? Tell them to prepare a temporary holding area, something more comfortable than the old containment unit. So-min fumbled for her communication device with shaking hands. Control room, this is Lee So-min. The situation is under control. Ms. Lee, are you injured? Park Ji-woo's voice crackled through the speaker. No injuries. Dr. Kim he has made friends with the creature. There was a long pause before Park Ji-woo responded. Please repeat that, Ms. Lee. The Ripper is no longer hostile. Repeat. The creature is no longer hostile. In the control room, the alien observers stared at each other in stunned silence. Captain Nalseth was the first to speak. In 40 years of security work, he said slowly, I have never seen anything like this. Dr. Vextari was clicking rapidly, but her translator had given up trying to convert her excited speech into words. Oh, Hyun-sik, a maintenance worker who had been hiding in a supply closet near Engineering Bay 3, finally emerged from his hiding place. He took one look at Taeho standing calmly beside the massive creature and nearly fainted. Dr. Kim, he stammered. Is that thing tame now? Not tame, Taeho corrected. Just no longer afraid. Fear makes any creature dangerous. Remove the fear and you can communicate. The Ripper looked down at Oh Hyun-sik and made a soft rumbling sound. The maintenance worker stumbled backward, but the creature made no aggressive moves. It is learning to recognize non-threats, Taeho explained. Just like any intelligent animal. As word spread through the station that the crisis was over, alien personnel began returning to their posts. But they gave Engineering Bay 3 a wide berth, unwilling to get too close to the creature that had terrified them just minutes before. The Ripper seemed content to stay near Taeho, occasionally making soft rumbling sounds that might have been attempts at communication. It had stopped destroying equipment and appeared genuinely curious about the humans around it. For the alien observers, everything they thought they knew about predator behavior had just been turned upside down. The fragile humans had not only survived an encounter with the galaxy's most dangerous creature, but had somehow turned it into a peaceful interaction. The implications of what they had witnessed would take time to fully understand. So-min reached Engineering Bay 3 faster than expected. She quickly located the manual evacuation beacon and activated it. The small device beeped twice, confirming that her signal had reached the main computer. Now the search teams would know she was safe. She turned to leave but heard a sound that made her blood run cold. Heavy footsteps were coming down the corridor, along with a low rumbling noise that sounded like distant thunder. The creature had found her. So-min looked around desperately for another exit, but Engineering Bay 3 only had one door. The footsteps were getting closer. She could hear metal creaking and sparks flying as the creature damaged equipment in the hallway. She pressed herself against the far wall and tried to stay quiet. Maybe it would pass by without noticing her. The footsteps stopped right outside the door. In the control room, Taeho watched the security camera feed with growing horror. The creature stood in the doorway of Engineering Bay 3, its massive form filling the entire entrance. Its intelligent eyes scanned the room methodically. It knows she is in there, Park Ji-woo whispered. The Ripper stepped into the room. Each footstep shook the floor. So-min pressed herself further back against the wall, but there was nowhere to hide in the small engineering bay. The creature spotted her immediately. For a moment, neither moved. So-min stared up at the 12-foot-tall predator, and it stared back at her. Its 6 arms moved slightly, claws extending and retracting like a cat preparing to pounce. Then the Ripper took a step forward. I have to help her, Taeho said. Heading for the door, Park Ji-woo grabbed his arm. Dr. Kim, you cannot. That creature will kill you both. I cannot just watch my friend die. There is nothing you can do. No weapon on this station can hurt that thing. Taeho pulled free. Then I will figure something else out. He ran from the control room, ignoring Park Ji-woo's shouts behind him. The corridors were empty now except for emergency lighting. Everyone else had evacuated to the safe areas of the station. Taeho knew the station layout well after 6 months of living here. He took a shortcut through the maintenance tunnels, crawling through spaces designed for repair work. The tunnel brought him out near Section D, just 2 corridors away from Engineering Bay 3. He could hear the creature now, that rumbling sound it made, and the crash of equipment being destroyed. So-min was screaming. Taeho ran toward the sound, his heart pounding. He had no weapons, no plan, and no idea how to fight a creature that could tear through metal with its bare hands. but he could not abandon Somin. He reached Engineering Bay 3 and saw the situation. The Ripper had cornered Somin against the back wall. It was playing with her, taking slow steps forward while she searched desperately for an escape route. The creature seemed to enjoy her fear. "Hey!" Taeho shouted from the doorway. The Ripper turned to look at him. Its eyes were even more intelligent up close, studying him with obvious curiosity. It had probably never seen a human before. "Leave her alone," Taeho said, stepping into the room. The creature tilted its massive head, considering this new development. Then it made a decision. Instead of continuing to threaten Somin, it turned its full attention to Taeho. "Run, Somin," Taeho said quietly. "Get out of here!" "I am not leaving you," she replied. "Go, that is an order." The Ripper took a step toward Taeho, then another. It moved with surprising grace for such a large creature. Its 6 arms swayed as it walked, claws catching the emergency lighting. Somin tried to edge around the creature toward the door, but the Ripper was too smart. Without taking its eyes off Taeho, it moved to block her escape route. Now both humans were trapped. In the control room, Park Ji-woo and several other station personnel watched the security feed in. Horror. Dr. Vexitari had returned from the evacuation area and was clicking rapidly in distress. "We have to do something," she said through her translator. "The heavy weapons are in the armory on Deck 4, Park Ji-woo replied. "Even if we could reach them, they would probably kill the humans along with the creature." Captain Nalseth entered the control room, his scales dark with stress. "Status report. 2 humans trapped with the creature," Park Ji-woo said. "No way to extract them safely." Captain Nalseth studied the screen. "Why is Dr. Kim not showing fear responses?" Look at his body language, it was true. While Somin showed obvious signs of terror, Taeho appeared calm. He stood straight, watching the creature with the same careful attention he used when studying specimens in his laboratory. "Humans process danger differently," Dr. Vexitari said. "Their stress responses are not as pronounced as ours." "No," Captain Nalseth said slowly. "This is something else. Look at how he positions himself. He is not trying to escape. He is evaluating the creature." On the screen, they watched Taeho take a small step to the side. The Ripper matched his movement, staying directly in front of him. They were circling each other now like 2 predators trying to determine who was the threat. "What is he doing?" Somin whispered. "Buying time," Taeho replied, but that was not entirely true. He was studying the creature, looking for weaknesses. Its movements were fluid but followed predictable patterns. The 6 arms gave it incredible reach, but they also made it harder to maintain balance when moving quickly. The Ripper seemed to reach the same conclusion about the standoff. It decided to end the game. With a roar that shook the walls, the creature charged. Taeho had been expecting this. He had watched the security footage of the creature moving through the station. He knew how it attacked, with overwhelming force and speed, relying on its size and strength to crush any opposition. But Taeho had grown up on a farm. He had dealt with charging bulls, angry horses, and aggressive dogs. Size and strength were advantages, but they could also be weaknesses if you knew how to use them. As the Ripper lunged toward him with all 6 arms extended, Taeho did something that no alien had ever tried. He stepped forward to meet the attack. The watching aliens gasped in horror. Dr. Vexitari covered her compound eyes with her front legs. Captain Nalseth made a sound deep in his throat that meant death in the Keruvian language. But Park Ji-woo kept watching, and what he saw made no sense. Instead of being crushed by the creature's charge, the human seemed to flow around it. The Ripper's claws passed through empty air where Taeho had been standing a split second before. The creature stumbled, off balance from its missed attack. It spun around looking confused and angry. Taeho was now standing behind it, still calm, still studying. "Impossible," Captain Nalseth whispered. The alarm started at exactly 14:30 station time. Taeho was in Laboratory 7 reviewing tissue samples when the red lights began flashing and the emergency siren filled the air. "All personnel to emergency stations," the station computer announced in 12 different languages. "Containment breach in Holding Bay 5, this is not a drill." Taeho looked up from his microscope. Holding Bay 5 was where they had put the Vorthak Ripper just 3 hours ago. The transport ship had delivered the creature in a specialized containment unit that looked more like a small fortress than a cage. Dr. Vexitari had been so nervous, During the transfer that her translator kept malfunctioning, Captain Nalseth had brought 20 armed guards, all carrying weapons that could punch holes through starship hulls. The creature had been unconscious from powerful drugs, but even sleeping, it had made everyone jumpy. Now something had gone wrong. Tejo ran toward the holding bay area, going against the flow of alien researchers who were evacuating in the opposite direction. He passed Dr. Hintalor, an elderly scientist from the Zelani species whose crystal body was flashing bright red with fear. "Dr. Kim," the old Zelani called out. "Where are you going?" "The evacuation route is this way." "I need to see what happened," Tejo replied, continuing down the corridor. He found Somin in the main control room, working frantically at a computer terminal while Park Ji-woo, a security officer from the Galactic Security Force who was visiting the station, coordinated evacuation procedures over the radio. "Status report," Tejo said. "Mechanical failure in the containment unit," Somin replied without looking up from her screen. Something went wrong with the power coupling. The stasis field collapsed and the creature woke up. Then it broke out. "How bad is the damage?" Park Ji-woo turned from his radio. "It tore through 3 layers of reinforced containment like they were paper. The automated defense systems tried to stop it, but the creature is too smart. It figured out how to disable them." On the main screen, they could see security camera footage from Holding Bay 5. The containment unit was completely destroyed. Thick metal walls had been peeled open like a tin can. Sparking wires hung from the ceiling where the creature had ripped out the electrical systems. "Where is it now?" Tejo asked. "Deck 7, Section C," Somin said. "It is moving toward the main hub." "That is where most of the research staff work," Park Ji-woo said. "We have evacuated everyone we can find, but the creature is blocking several escape routes." Tejo studied the damage on the screen. The Ripper was definitely strong, but its actions seemed random and angry rather than calculated. It was destroying everything in its path, but not in any particular pattern. "Has anyone tried to communicate with it?" he asked. Park Ji-woo stared at him. "Communicate? Dr. Kim, that thing is a killing machine. It does not communicate. It destroys, but you said it was intelligent. If it can think, maybe it can be reasoned with." "Dr. Kim," Somin said gently, "look at what it did to that containment unit. That metal was 6 inches thick. The creature broke it apart with its bare hands." The security cameras switched to show the creature itself. The Vorthak Ripper was even more impressive than the data files had suggested. It stood 12 feet tall on powerful legs with 6 arms that ended in claws as long as kitchen knives. Its hide was dark gray and looked like natural armor. Most striking were its eyes. They were large and intelligent, constantly scanning its surroundings. As they watched, the creature stopped in a corridor and examined a wall panel. It touched the panel carefully, almost gently, then suddenly smashed it with one massive fist. Sparks flew and the lights in that section went out. "It is learning the station layout," Park Ji-woo said with horror, "and it is systematically destroying our systems." More alarms began sounding. The creature had damaged something important. "Life support is still online," Somin reported, "but it knocked out the emergency force fields in sections B through F. If anyone is still trapped in those areas, they have no protection." "I thought everyone was evacuated," Tejo said. Park Ji-woo checked his roster. "Wait, Lee Somin, are you not supposed to be in Engineering Bay 3? Somin looked up from her computer screen. "That is in Section D. I came here when the alarm started. According to my records, you never checked in at the evacuation point, because I am here. But the automatic systems do not know that. They think you are still trapped in Section D." Tejo felt his stomach drop. "So if someone looks at the evacuation list, they will think Somin is missing. And they might go looking for her," Park Ji-woo finished. On the screen, they watched the creature moving through the corridors. It was getting closer to Section D. "I have to go back and trigger the manual evacuation beacon," Somin said. "Otherwise, search teams will risk their lives looking for me in the wrong place." "No," Tejo said firmly. "It is too dangerous. The beacon is just around the corner from Engineering Bay 3. I can get there quickly." Park Ji-woo shook his head. "Ms. Lee, I cannot allow you to enter an unsecured area. That creature could kill you in seconds. And if I do not go, how many security officers will die looking for me?" She had a point. Alien rescue teams were already suiting up in heavy armor, preparing to search for survivors. They would follow standard protocols and check every location where someone might be trapped. "There has to be another way," Tejo said. So-min was already heading for the door. "I will be quick. In and out. So-min, wait." But she was gone, running down the corridor toward Section D. Taeho turned back to the screen. The creature was now only 2 sections away from where So-min was heading. At its current pace, they would encounter each other in less than 10 minutes. "Can we distract it somehow?" Taeho asked. "Draw it away from that area?" "With what?" Park Ji-woo replied. "Our weapons cannot hurt it, and it is too smart to fall for simple tricks." They watched helplessly as the creature continued its methodical destruction of the station. Every few minutes it would stop and study something: a door, a wall panel, a junction between corridors. Then it would either ignore the object or destroy it completely. "It is mapping the station," Taeho realized. "Learning how everything connects. That makes it even more dangerous," Park Ji-woo said. "Soon it will know exactly where all the escape routes are." On another camera feed, they could see So-min running through the corridors of Section D. She moved quickly but carefully, checking each corner before proceeding. She was still several minutes away from Engineering Bay 3. "Can we contact her?" Taeho asked. "Communication systems in that section are down," Park Ji-woo replied. "The creature destroyed them." Taeho stared at the screen, feeling helpless. His friend was heading into danger, and there was nothing he could do to help her. The most dangerous creature in known space was loose on the station, and their weapons could not stop it. For the first time since arriving at the station, Taeho began to understand why the aliens were so afraid. Kim Taeho pressed his face against the thick glass window and watched the planet below. SciFiPrime spun slowly beneath the space station, its purple clouds swirling over green and yellow continents. He had been studying this world for 6 months now, but it still amazed him. Another late night. Lee So-min walked up behind him carrying 2 cups of coffee. She handed one to Taeho and stood beside him at the observation deck. "The data from today's surface scans came in," Taeho said, taking a sip of the hot coffee. "The Ripper population is larger than we thought. At least 40 adults in the northern continent alone." So-min shook her head. 40 of those things? No wonder the other species stay away from this planet. Taeho worked as a xenobiologist on the research station called Kepler's Edge. The station was huge, with white metal corridors and laboratories that could house over 200 researchers. Scientists from 12 different alien species worked here, all trying to understand the dangerous world below. But Taeho and So-min were the only humans. The other researchers treated them kindly, but always seemed worried about their safety. The aliens acted like humans were made of paper and might break if someone looked at them too hard. Taeho found it strange, but he had gotten used to it. "Dr. Kim," a voice called from down the hallway. Dr. Vexistari approached them on 6 insect-like legs, her large compound eyes reflecting the station lights. She was the station director and belonged to a species called the Threnody. Her voice came from a small device around her neck that translated her clicking sounds into words. "The specimen transport arrives tomorrow," she said. Her antennae twitching with what Taeho had learned meant nervousness. "Are you certain you wish to observe the transfer process?" "Of course," Taeho replied. "I need to see the creature up close to complete my behavioral analysis." Dr. Vextari's antennae twitched faster. "Dr. Kim, I must stress how dangerous this creature is. The Vorthak Ripper has never been successfully contained by any species. We are using technology that took us 50 years to develop." "I understand the risks," Taeho said calmly. "I will stay behind the safety barriers." The station director looked at So-min, who worked as an engineer maintaining the station's systems. "Ms. Lee, perhaps you can explain to your colleague the gravity of this situation." So-min laughed. "Doc Taeho grew up on a farm. He has wrestled bulls before. I think he can handle watching a big animal from behind some glass." Dr. Vextari made a sound that the translator could not convert. She clicked rapidly for several seconds, then walked away on her 6 legs, muttering in her native language. "I think we upset her," So-min said. "She means well," Taeho replied. "All the aliens here seem to think we are very fragile. Can you blame them? Look at us compared to them." So-min gestured down the hallway where Captain Nalseth was walking toward them. The Keruvian security chief stood 8 feet tall with thick scales covering his reptilian body. His yellow eyes could see in complete darkness, and his clawed hands could crush steel. "Captain?" Taeho nodded as the large alien approached. "Dr. Kim." "Ms. Lee," Captain Nalseth's voice was deep and rumbling. "I hear you plan to observe tomorrow's specimen transfer." "That is correct." The captain's tail swished behind him, another sign of nervousness that Taeho had learned to recognize. The security protocols for this operation are beyond anything we have ever implemented. 5 layers of containment, armed guards at every checkpoint, emergency evacuation procedures for the entire station. Sounds thorough, So-min said. Dr. Kim, in my 40 years of security work, I have never encountered a creature as dangerous as the Vorthak Ripper. My people have legends about such beast. They say that when the first Keruvians tried to explore SciFiPrime, entire battalions disappeared. Only empty ships were found torn apart from the inside. Taeho listened politely. He had heard similar stories from every alien species on the station. According to them, the Vorthak Ripper was the most dangerous creature in known space. It stood 12 feet tall, weighed as much as a small transport vehicle, and had 6 arms ending in claws that could cut through reinforced metal. Its armored hide could stop most weapons, and its intelligence was close to that of the primitive ancestors of most spacefaring species. What confused Taeho was why everyone was so afraid. Yes, it sounded like a dangerous animal, but humans had dealt with dangerous animals for thousands of years. Lions, tigers, bears, sharks. Earth had plenty of creatures that could kill a person. Humans had learned to study them, understand them, and work around them. I appreciate your concern, Captain, Taeho said, but I am just an observer. I will follow all safety protocols. Captain Nelseth stared at him for a long moment with those yellow eyes. Dr. Kim, you do not understand. This is not like the animals on your homeworld. The Ripper is intelligent. It plans, it waits, it remembers, and it has killed members of species much stronger than humans. I will be careful, Taeho promised. The captain walked away, shaking his large head. Why do you think they are all so scared? So-min asked when they were alone again. Taeho thought about it. Different evolution, maybe. Their ancestors were probably prey animals that had to run and hide. They developed intelligence to escape from predators, not to fight them. And humans. We were the predators. We developed intelligence to hunt better. So-min nodded. That would explain why we see this differently. To them, a dangerous predator means run away and hide. To us, it means figure out how to deal with it. They finished their coffee and headed back to their quarters. Tomorrow would be an interesting day. The first live Vorthak Ripper ever captured would arrive at the station. Taeho was excited to see it, even if everyone else was terrified. As he prepared for sleep, Taeho reviewed the data files one more time. The creature was certainly impressive, but it was still just an animal. It had strengths and weaknesses like any other living thing. The key was understanding those weaknesses. He fell asleep thinking about behavioral patterns and hunting strategies, unaware that tomorrow would change how the entire galaxy viewed humanity forever.